Welcome to the Becoming a Streamer podcast by Pipeline, where we learn more about streamer stories and how they got to where they are at today. I'm your host, co-founder of Pipeline, Stone Mountain 64, and today we are joined by none other than WackyJacky101, an all-time legend in the PUBG community. He started back in 2017 and is now a full-time content creator, streaming 150 hours a month. Not only has he had multiple million view videos, he's been recognized by PUBG themselves, getting his own gun skin in the game for the VSS, and he's one of the most analytical minds. It was a real pleasure to speak with him. If you want to check him out, his Twitch and YouTube are both WackyJacky101. Without further ado, though, enjoy the interview. Huge thank you, WackyJacky. Dude, thank you for joining in, coming in, sharing your story today for other streamers. Also, man, huge congrats on everything that you've been working on, everything that you've been doing. It's been really cool. I've been following your story for years. So, it's really awesome to speak with you today, man.
My pleasure. Honored to be here.
Heck yeah, man. Listen, before we get too deep in everything, I just kind of want to give like a general picture to people who, may not know who you are, may not know what you're even doing today. Like, where you're streaming, where you're creating content, where your follower count is. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, so currently I started on YouTube and I'm still doing a lot of YouTube stuff. And currently a little over 500,000 subs, I think of 520K or something like that. And also streaming on Twitch. On Twitch, I'm getting close to that 140K. Like I'm always counting in fives, that's just a thing. But that's awesome. And streaming a lot, trying to do day streams, evening streams, my own local time while doing YouTube videos, trying to cover several games. Takes a lot of time, but it's so cool. And it's hard to get enough of it,
So you're out in Denmark, correct? And you're streaming about 150 hours per month. And it's mostly PUBG. But I've seen you playing some Escape from Tarkov, some other games as well, correct?
That's correct.
Awesome.
Like I had a month just now with 200 hours streamed and doing videos, or at least trying to do videos for two separate games. I won't say burnt me out, but I realized that was too much. Like I found the limit of what I can physically do while having a family still. And
it's a lot. It's a lot. I think people don't sometimes even understand how much goes into all of it. But before you got into streaming, creating content, tell me a little bit about like where you came from off it. And were you already creating videos before? How did you make the transition?
Yeah, well, I was working in the pharmaceutical industry, actually working on optimizing a production line, and actually several production lines, in order to seek out where we could get the most gain of making improvements, using systematic problem solving, analyzing large quantities of data, all that stuff. So it was highly analytical and always trying to find the best way to do stuff. And it was just natural to take this whole mindset of improving stuff and doing things the best possible way and bringing that over to gaming. And that's how I started my YouTube channel, essentially, with guides and stuff.
That's so, like, just even hearing you talk about that and like your analytical side, like I immediately draw that connection between all the videos that you've created of all these details and so many specific details in these PUBG videos and everything as well.
Yeah. So that's definitely there.
What made you actually choose, so you started by creating YouTube videos. Were you playing a bunch of games before that? Was it just like, you just had this drive for PUBG in particular and wanted to know that information yourself? Like, how did you get into like creating content around that?
Well, so that's kind of a funny thing since I'm talking with you, right? Because I played a lot of Battlefield back in the days, especially, Battlefield 3, 4, Battlefield 1, played them a lot. And always had a good time with my friends watching this guy Stone Mountain messing around on the battlefield. So that was actually kind of cool. So that's actually, you're one of my inspirations actually for starting doing all this. And
dude, that is... it's so funny to even hear that, but that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
And so I started getting into PUBG as well, having played a lot of different games like Counter-Strike, especially a lot of World of Warcraft back in the time. I think still I have more hours in World of Warcraft than I do in PUBG, but that's something else.
Probably same with me.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of the game, I guess. Yeah. And yeah, so one of the creators I got inspiration from when I started making PUBG content was actually Actualite. I know you play a lot with Actualite, so that was also kind of cool. And but anyway, I did do my content in a different way. I know back in the day, I think Actualite is still almost entirely about gameplays, having these cool gameplays. Whereas I just got drawn to the analytical side. So,
and when you started creating on that, then like, was it, you know, I'm going to go down the path? Like, did you go in with a plan of like, hey, I'm going down with this analytical route? Like, this is the content that I'm creating, or like, you know, like, is that, so did you go in with a plan, I guess?
More or less. I had no idea that it would ever like grow like at all. I just figured, hey, you know, I started with a mouse guide, basically. That's one of the first videos I ever did, like how to set up your mouse sensitivity for the game. Like I had a lot of friends that were like, they didn't know how to do it. I had to explain it to everybody, like how, why? Okay, so I guess this is something good to know. So I made a video about it and it got some traction. I think it got around 50,000 views and I was completely blown away. I was blown out of my mind that so many people watch this stuff. And I was like, oh, well, I'll make more guides about mice and stuff like that. And then I ran out of content. So now I want to make guides, I guess. That's cool and it's fun. People want to watch it. And then it just took off from there.
Were you pulling comments from people and like, or just reading comments like, oh, do a video about this, do a video about this? Or like, where did that, because obviously like the mouse guide, yeah, you had friends that kind of were asking you questions about it. A lot of what I was even looking at when I was making videos, because I had done a lot of tip videos in the past kind of like that, is like, I was even looking at other people's comment section of what are people asking about? What are the questions that people are asking? Or because, you know, you said you ran out of content, but you're still coming up with new stuff today. Like, what was that process?
Like in beginning, I did read the comments and I would take a comment from the comment section and that I thought was a good idea about some content. It could be a question about how to use pistols, or it could be, I don't know, whatever about the scopes or something like that. And I would take that idea and I would mention it in the video that this person, this name in the comments had an idea, and that's why I made the video. So shout out to that person. So that's what I did in the beginning. And I got a lot of people, you know, to start making questions and ideas for videos.
Yeah. And then, you know, you ended up streaming. Did you ever stream on YouTube, or did you just go straight into going into Twitch? And what made you transition to getting into streaming?
Yeah, so that's kind of a funny story as well, because back in the day, I did not want to stream. It was not for me. I did not want to do it. Hell no, I'm not going to sit there and have a camera on my face and all this stuff. No, I cannot do that. I didn't even want to start a Discord server. And people started asking about the Discord server. And I was like, no. And suddenly I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to make it. And people were like, hey, that's cool. And I was like, all right, that's cool. So then the same thing happened with streaming. Hey, you should start streaming. People started bugging me and annoying me with that all the time. And then one day I was like, whatever. I just ninja started a stream and like wrote on Discord, hey, I'm streaming. And on my first stream, blown away again. I started on Twitch and never tried YouTube, but I had 100 or 80 to 100 viewers on my first stream ever. So that was like really weird. And I will never forget that day, you know, doing custom games and just sitting there for 8 hours that just vanished. I had no idea where those hours went, because it was so intense. And that was really interesting. I was so tired after, and I just realized how tired I was after. It was extreme. Like,
it's different. It is very different. That is awesome though. But I mean, you've been growing that. That was about, I believe that was about 2 years ago when you started streaming. Since then, everything has continued to grow. You've been really continuing to push everything. And that was, I mean, when did you transition to doing this as a full-time thing? Or were you doing it while you were still working at the pharmacy or wherever you were previously?
Yeah, so I started with the YouTube channel when I was working at the pharmacy, or actually pharmaceutical. It was it was Novo Nordisk making insulin, but I started doing it when I was working there, and I just got a son when I hit 1,000 subscribers, so I was a newborn dad as well, and then I started streaming, and it was a lot, with the new kid, still working, and then doing all this stuff. So I started doing it full time, exactly 2 years, like on the 1st of January 2017. So it was 2 years ago I started full time, and I had been streaming for about 2 months or something, approximately, before I started going full time. The financial side was extremely important to look at, of course, because I had a very well paid job with like a very promising career, like a very promising career path, and I had to, I had a nice car I sold, and limiting all expenses and all that stuff to make it happen and make it work. And I just went for it because I was like, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. That was my thinking.
Yeah. I mean, and how was that for you? Because at the point of you quitting it, so you were streaming, you had some traction there, you were doing YouTube, you had some traction there, like things are going good. But how, I guess, like, was that something that you were really confident in doing? And, because, all right, I'm going to drop my expenses, we're going to figure this out. Like, was it something you really went into confidently? Or was, how did you feel at the point of making that transition?
Well, it was scary, but I actually felt good about it because, all I did was look at data and my job, and I could see all the trends, and I could see all the numbers, and I could see everything going up. Everything looked solid. The game was gaining popularity, and everything was good. Streaming was gaining popularity. Like everything looked correct. So I used the data to help me with the decision there, but I was pretty confident about it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I think it is something that's there's definitely like fear in there, because it's a risk really no matter what and what you're doing, especially because like all of this really can just be, it can go away. And it's kind of like figuring out how do you keep balancing that. And so I guess like too, I'm curious, like, I know you've been doing this for about 2 years, or even longer in terms of creating, but like, how has your strategy changed over that time? Like, obviously you've made a transition. You've been doing a lot more live streaming. How is that strategy of you like creating content, or, what you're providing for your audience? Is it like guides? Cause you can only do so many guides on, the recoil of whatever gun or whatever. Like, so how do you keep developing your content from there?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. You can only do so many guides. Of course, there are new content coming out, and I can work with that. But I think also it became a lot about making entertaining content, such as making like firing 1,000 flare guns, popping 2,000 gas cans in a long domino or whatever. Just doing weird stuff like that, doing huge experiments and stuff like that. And also have been doing gameplay videos that I take from my stream, just as we all do. That has been pretty great. However, the whole thought is more into like a big strategy for me, and I know this is probably the strategy, the goal for a lot of creators is to be able to work with other games as well instead of your main games. Like I am a PUBG creator, and I want to be able to attract an audience to watch other games, watch me play them, and watch me make content about them. So that is what I'm thinking a lot about, and that's what I'm working on, so to say. Yeah. That's the future.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and it is something that I promise you, it is something that's, it's strange to do. I've gone through tons of different games over the time, and you even mentioned earlier you found me from Battlefield. I literally get that all of the time. But then there's people who know me from PUBG or know me from whatever other future games are. So, and I mean, it's awesome too. You are in a position of doing it full time. I've seen you branching over to Escape from Tarkov and trying some other things out as well. And that's good to see. I mean, like, how does your audience respond to you even playing? Like, Escape from Tarkov is still kind of like a very tactical type of game, which I would consider PUBG to be as well. Like, does that translate pretty well? Like, is that just where your interests lie too, in terms of those games?
Well, both, I would say. Yeah, actually both. And one thing I've been very open about also on my stream when people have been asking me about it is why don't I play more Escape from Tarkov, for instance? And the answer is I'm completely open and honest about this. My job is to entertain, and my job is PUBG. You know, that is what I work with. So when I play Escape from Tarkov, I've been super proud that I've been able to maintain a pretty high viewership, sometimes around 70% of my PUBG viewership, which has been amazing. But fewer people will subscribe, fewer people will donate, fewer people will follow, fewer people are going to watch, of course, and fewer people are going to gift subscriptions as well. So my revenue drops to 1/3 to 1/4 of what it is when I play PUBG. And so it's just a really bad business strategy to not play or not provide my main product the most of the time. So that's obviously how it is. So instead of streaming like 50-50 PUBG Tarkov, for instance, if I wanted to do that, it's better for me and my audience to do more like of a 70% PUBG, 30% Tarkov, for instance. That's stuff that I, of course, have to deal with since this is my business as well. I mean, this is how it is.
100%. Indeed, it's so fun to listen to you from like this analytical side of everything, because I don't hear that a lot from other people. So that's really interesting. I like that. But no, it's a lot of how I think about creating content as well. It's like, and that's something too that I think is just a really big misconception of a lot of stuff is like, oh, these guys are playing video games all day. Like they're just playing some video games, but there's really a lot that's going into that. And, you know, part of the thing that I think really stood you out, especially to me early on, is like, you are so dedicated to this game that you're doing all the boring stuff that like to me is really boring. Like I would never want to go in and figure out the gun, but every time you posted a video of whatever the update was about the gun or the update or whatever, because I was playing so much PUBG at the time, it was like, you guys got to go see this. Like I just learned this from WackyJacky. I'm using this gun now because like it just made everything that much simpler. And it was awesome. But I'm curious too, like, you know, you're having a child while you're working on all this. Like, how has the support been from friends or family as you started to like actually make some videos? Do they even understand what you were doing, like creating this stuff?
Well, not so much. Like I have few friends that understand it and supports me actually, both financially and as a viewer. Like that's from the start would go in on my Patreon and would subscribe to $25 a month. It was huge, you know, and they still do it. And that's awesome, of course. But that, of course, and then probably my parents, my closest family would watch it. And my mom always texts me, oh, I saw you reach X amount of subscribers. Congratulations. We celebrated over here, stuff like that. So that's awesome. Mostly how it is. But on the social side, well, definitely some challenges there, sitting so much in front of my computer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't get so much out, or I don't spend enough time with people, you know, I would like to see in real life and stuff like that. It's definitely one of the backsides of the medallion for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, did people even understand what you were doing? Because I guess you starting like even a few years ago, was it very much like, even the people that did understand, was it, it's kind of like, oh, you're just sitting down playing video games all day. You know what I mean? Like, did they have that like, well, you should probably keep really working and focusing on your job? Or was it like, man, I see this as like, I really see what you're doing and think that this is going to be huge?
Only really in the beginning. And I think when people realized that it was actually a business and I did take it seriously, and I did treat it like a business, basically. Yeah. So then people started understanding, okay, this is not just goofing around. This is an actually entertainment business, which it is. But definitely my mom back in the day, it's always the mom, as you know, it's like, oh, I'm a little bit worried about what you're doing there, son. But it's all good now.
Yeah, sure. And so I'm curious then, like, average day, what does that look like for you? I mean, when you were maybe even working at your previous job, like, was it not much of a social life? You're saying, honestly, I've been the same way because, it just took up all my weekends, all my evenings and everything. Like, is that what it was like for you? Or was it kind of just occasionally posting a video? What was that like?
Well, when I realized that I can actually make a living, a potential living. I could make money from YouTube back in the day. I started really pushing hard, and I almost was able to do one video per day, which was, well, a lot, since it was highly analytical, a lot of the stuff and guides and stuff.
And
so
while you're working full time.
Yeah, and just got a son. Yeah, so it was a little bit too much. But
yeah, sure.
I always thought like investing in the future, and making an effort to then benefit from it later. I don't know what the English expression, but at least, work with the iron while it's hot. Can you say that in English? I'm not sure, but that's how I was thinking about it, at least.
It's like strike while the iron's hot. It's, blacksmithing. You got to hit at the right time. So yeah, I mean, then it really was a lot of your free. If you're doing a video a day, that is a lot. People, it is a lot to create a video, especially how analytical and polished yours are. And I'm curious too, like, so you came from the background of analytics, but not so much video editing, I would take it. Like, how did you learn those skills of even creating the videos? By
doing, basically. I downloaded Adobe Premiere Pro, or Adobe, I don't know how you say that, but I downloaded that whole package and just went from there, went with it. I've been using Photoshop before, also in my work, so but not the video editing before so much. I just started using it, and my first videos, when I look at them today, I'm like, why didn't I do that transition there? Why am I not fading to black? What's this? What is this amateur? So, but just learn by doing and then trying to improve with every video, basically.
I do. That's exactly how it is, though. Like, you look back at your content from even like I'll look back at my content from a year or 2 years ago, or I look back at my content from 8 years ago. I'm like, what was I doing? And I just kind of leave it up now, but. That's what's kind of fun to see the progress. And then you can't make a video a day unless you are actually just like, you're just happy with what the results are and you put it out. I think a lot of people kind of just roadblock themselves. Oh, it's not good enough. I want it to be perfect. I want it to hit a certain standard with that. So then, nowadays you are full time, and I know some people can be at the spectrum of doing like literally they're just on their couch, and when they feel like streaming, they pop on and they start going. And then there's, a more structured approach. I definitely keep a lot of my stuff very structured. I'm curious, like, what does your average day look like now that you are full-time streaming videos, balancing everything that you're doing? Life, family?
Yeah, so it's been challenging, and been doing some changes recently with that as well. But mostly what it used to be, at least until recently, was that I would get up around 10 a.m. and then just eat my breakfast around that time, greet my wife good morning. She is also working full-time with me on this, helping me out with a lot of this stuff, surrounding, about that. There's a lot of stuff you got to do apart from just making the content. And then I would start streaming or start working on a video until the afternoon, where my son would come home from daycare, going to spend some time with my son, eat, and then go back to streaming until about 2 a.m. in the night, go to bed, and do the same thing again next day. So the only change right now is that instead of getting up at 10 and going to bed at 2 a.m., I've shifted it to about 2 hours. So I get up earlier and go to bed earlier, because it's better for the family rhythm, and I get more hours with my wife and son, and it's just more natural in a lot of ways. So, but definitely spending a lot of time getting up, streaming, video, break, and then doing the same again in the evening, and then sleep.
That's awesome. And was it so, I'm just curious, like, did you keep your schedule very late in order to try and get into more like the North American market, because it is, the time difference and everything? Or was that just like how you like to do things?
Yeah, I need to be online when Choco Taco stops streaming, because then everybody want to watch PUBG and they go to my channel. No, that's actually kind of true. I can see that on the numbers, by the way. But it was a lot to be able to get some of the North American viewers as well, because if I stream during the day, I'm pretty much streaming while everybody's sleeping over there, and then stopping my stream when everybody gets home from work, which is not so good, because streaming is a very popular thing in North America, as you know. So it was a lot about that, honestly. But yeah, I just had to prioritize the family. It would definitely be better for viewership if I was streaming my time between midnight and maybe 4 a.m. If I could do that, it would be so much better. We're talking twice the amount of viewers for sure.
And that's just kind of hard to manage with your region, where you're at, how you figure that out with your family and everything. And that's where, like, there really is a conscious effort that you got to make between the balance of everything, because this is your own business. You are an entrepreneur doing this. And that's something that I've really had to struggle with as well, as like, okay, well, I could spend every waking minute working on this and I can get results from that. Like I can do something and it will be good, or like it'll benefit me in some way. But it's like, how do I balance? Like I can't just sit here all day and just like, I got to stand up and do, do something at some other point, right? The other thing I was curious about is, as you have been continuing to grow and figure things out, like, are you creating, so you mentioned like your wife helps you on certain things. Have you been creating more systems to help you kind of go through this process, whether that's like moderators or agents or business partners, anything that you
Yeah. So I did join an agency and got myself an agent in terms of sponsor deals and stuff like that. And I was very skeptic about it in the beginning because, of course, they do take a cut. Depending on the deal, we're talking between 10% to 25%, depending on who finds the deal and who does what and stuff like that. So it's actually kind of a lot. But I also learned that from my experience, it was worth it. It takes all that contractual stuff away from my workload, and they try to get the best price or best value for what I am supposed to do and stuff. So it was actually turned out to be a huge help, and I'm really happy about it. And the same for my wife. She does a lot of stuff, like everything from, it could be updating the emotes on my channel to doing some graphical stuff if we're doing a giveaway, to put videos on Instagram, to do all the financial stuff for the bookkeeping and all that stuff. She does so much stuff, and merch, everything, all that stuff, so I can focus on doing what I do.
Yep. That is incredible. That is awesome. And that's the thing that, like, that's what frees you up to then start, spending more time with the family or whatever it is, so that you don't literally always have to be the person doing everything. And that's what's hard too, is like, this position is so much like, you got to be, not only are you running the business of everything, but you're also on camera. And especially if you're streaming, like, you're live all the time. Like, when you're live, you can't really be answering emails or doing other things. So it is really hard to manage. So I'm curious then, what do you think, and I don't think there's really necessarily a perfect answer to this in general, but what do you think is one of the most vital skills that you have, whether that's for your content or for whatever, that helps you as a creator?
Well, that is a good question. I think it is the ability to self-motivate and just keep going. And I sometimes, I start making a video and I know this is a huge project, looking at the clock, and I just realize, wow, I haven't even made a script yet. I'm just starting. It's just going to take hours. How to get through this, this whole thing about just one step at a time, and things will start becoming, what I want it to be. This whole just discipline and being able to self-motivate.
Do you think that's like a internal passion that you have for the game and the content? Do you think that's like the drive is just like, you've got this idea and you want to shape it? Like, where do you think that comes from?
It is a lot about like having the vision of the content. I'm very visual, and I have a great imagination. I've been told a lot, at least. So when I see something, I see one way, I imagine it one way. I just want it. I want to create it. Like, I can't wait to look at this specific animation doing a recoil analysis. I know it's going to be good, and I'm going to like swap it in from the side. I'm going to like load it in from the bottom. I'm going to swipe it in from the top. It's going to be so good, and like, these colors and stuff, So I'm just excited about making that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely see the passion in your content as well. And that's why it's great to see. And it's great that you have the interest in a lot of that. Cause like I said, some of it, I could not do that. So that is why it's also, I've always been extremely impressed by it, man. Cool. So just final thoughts, like, if you had any advice for people, there's a lot of people that are always trying to start up, that are trying to get into content creation, streaming videos, whatever it might be. Do you have any general advice that you'd like to share with them, or lessons that you might have learned?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the reasons that I managed to, I honestly had a very easy start on Twitch. Like with my streaming career, it was super easy. And the reason it was so easy was because I had a platform where I could take over viewers. So I had a way to be discovered when it comes to streaming. Because a lot of people, I see people streaming for years and they average maybe 1 to 2 viewers, and they're still going and just hope that it's going to happen sometime. I honestly don't think it will. I think you need to have a way to have people being able to find your stuff. So any platform where you can bring over people, I think YouTube is genius. I think that's also what helped you. Like you started on YouTube as well, am I correct? Like, and that's why people knew the Stone Mountain name and had interest in going to find you and watch you live. So I think that's just so important.
I mean, I used YouTube, I used Facebook, and you're right. A lot of it was like, it's just being able to hit an algorithm and get it out there some other way that really allows you to get some reach out there. And so actually, I just, and one other question here is like, did you have anything that, obviously you had like that first video of you doing the mouse, but was there any like huge, big moments of like something going viral or something hitting really big that you saw a big boost from? Yeah,
my VSS video, how to properly use the VSS. That was the big one. That's when it got really good.
That was a gun that was not so great, right?
Yeah, and like it's still definitely not one of the best guns at all, but it's just a very unique weapon, and you can perform something really cool with this unique weapon. It's definitely not a match towards like compared to like a full auto assault rifle, but it's just something different, and it is a lot of fun to use. So,
and you got your very own VSS skin in the game, which I still think is one of the coolest things. I picked it up. Dude, that is so cool. Congrats on that. Congrats on everything you've been doing, man. Thank you so much for joining for this. If people want to check you out, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on either YouTube. My name is WackyJacky101, or on Twitch, same name. So, yep.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining, guys. If you want to hear more podcasts like this, check out everything from us at pipeline.gg. Dude, thank you so much for joining in.
My pleasure.
See you out there.
You too, man.